Thanks, future me. This week I am delighted to be joined, I guess technically again, by my good friend Jay Dragon. Jay, thank you so much for coming on Party of One.
Thank you so much, Jeff.
Real quick, at the top of the show, I guess we should explain that line first. We recorded together, I guess, a few weeks ago at this point, and the episode was sadly lost to the wind, and I'm super sad about it, but I'm happy that you're back.
Yeah, no, I'm really thrilled to be here. I'm pretty sure it was like maybe a month or 2 months ago, but
who knows what time is at this point, honestly.
Yeah.
So real quick, before we dive into our game this week, why don't you take a moment to let the lovely listeners at home know about both what we're playing this week, as well as anything else that you've got going on you might want them to know about.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jay. I am a queer indie lyrical designer who lives in upstate New York in the wonderful Hudson Valley. My games are big queer intimacy, feelings, community, pastoral. I've been told I'm cottagecore, which I am still figuring out how I feel about that label.
That's a new term, and I'm gonna chew on it for a while.
Yeah, no, I kind of like it. I like there's a couple versions of it, and there's some aesthetics in there that I appreciate. Wanderhome is my brand new Kickstarter. It is a pastoral fantasy role-playing game about that is using the Belonging Outside Belonging system with some interesting modifications to tell the story of a group of traveling animal people and the places they go and the people they meet.
It's a good pitch. It's a real good pitch.
Thank you.
I'm real hype.
Yeah, just real good one sentence. Boom. Welcome to Wanderhome. Yeah. I was about to say I don't have anything else going on, but this is being recorded 2 months in advance, so maybe by now I've got some other stuff going on.
Well, and we'll have links to all that stuff in the show notes. I will. This is me making a note to future me
Thanks,
to
future
follow
me.
up with Jay closer to release to see if you have anything else going on that you want in the show notes.
Thanks,
and
future
this is present me noting, hey, listeners, go in the show notes. They're down there. All right, so let's go ahead and dive in. I am extremely hyped. You've hit a lot of buttons that I love deeply, so I'm ready to go on a magical animal people journey.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, Wanderhome is set in the land of Haeth, which is a fantasy land that's like very inspired by like Redwall. It's sort of that everything kind of like medieval but a little non-specific, very open to interpretation world that sort of has a few core conceits every single time, but a lot of it is going to be up to us to flesh out.
Cool. I love it.
Yeah. It is a beautiful and boundless land full of life and soul. It is a land of animal folk. These are, human-sized animal folk that are like, very Redwall in nature. Like you've got the, like star-nosed moles and geckos and monkeys and bears, etc. They're not like, it's not like a species thing. So there's no like animal racism. This is not Zootopia,
sure.
But that's the crux. Instead of pets and livestock, they have bugs, big old bugs, ranging from bumblebee herds to like stag beetles that carry things to like grasshopper mounts and such.
I'm smiling ear to ear. I don't know if it's coming across in the audio, but I'm smiling ear to ear.
The Haeth boasts a culture of hospitality, and people here are, for the most part, fundamentally good, with the few exceptions of the powerful who sort of exist in their far-off, temples and palaces and, heroes fighting dragons. The very powerful are not good, but they are far away and easy to avoid and very lonely. So for the most part, this is a game about, small folk living their regular lives, not really getting caught up in these, there's certainly big dangerous folks out there, but you don't really see them. And finally, Haethland was recently caught in war, but it is no longer. and that is the crux of the setting. I'm going to briefly draw your attention just to the journeying tools, which I believe start on page 3. The journeying tools are the language we can use whenever we want to shift stuff around, whenever we find ourselves, like, if we want to do something instead, if we want to ask each other about what to do next, what do you think? They give us permission to flat out reject anything that sort of comes up if it makes us, if it feels wrong for what's going on. Basically, just sort of a reminder that this is a conversation and it's a journey. We're not bound to any authority, including the text of the game itself. Yeah.
I love it.
This is Belonging Outside Belonging. So, Jeff, you're familiar, but for the viewers or for the listeners who aren't, Belonging Outside Belonging is where we're going to be using a very simple token economy. Basically, we have access to a set of things we can do, which when we do them, we will get tokens. And then we can spend those tokens to do a different set of things. These are not moves. For you BOB aficionados, I do not call them moves. But what those are generally going to everyone has the access to the same set of things they can do with the things that get you tokens, generally involving things like inconveniencing yourself to help someone else, or speaking your true feelings on a subject. And then some other things you can do when you spend a token is to provide a solution for an aspect of a material or immediate problem, or give someone something that has the potential to change them fundamentally. And those kind of those are the sort of thing you'd expect by, when you get a token, in order to get a token, or when you spend a token. In this game, there are a lot of playbooks. There are a lot. There are going to be, by the time we launch the Kickstarter, 15. Right now, there are 14 finished. There's one more being worked on as of this recording. So there's a whole lot. I can kind of, if you want to take a quick look at the names in the document outline, see if there's any that really immediately stand out to you. And we can you can pick one and I can pick one that complements that.
That sounds good. Let me flip through them real quick.
Oh, I'm sorry. What was that? Wizards of the Coast? You've got your 12 classes and your Dungeons and Dragons? Well, it's not a competition, but if it was.
It's not, but you are winning.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that's important. Sometimes it's important, especially when it's not a competition, to win.
Exactly. That's what winning's for.
Yeah, right. I'm leaning towards... Let me read Firelight again.
Actually, I'm sorry. Maybe not Firelight, because Firelight's got one little chunk that's not quite done.
Got it. Perfect. I am going to... I'm thinking Caretaker.
Ah, fuck yeah. The Caretaker is so good. I think a really good contrast to the Caretaker might be... I think it might be the Exile.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. I like that.
Yeah. So do you want to introduce the Caretaker real quick?
Sure.
Just the first couple of... Yeah.
Someone must pay attention to all the small and forgotten things in the world. Someone must listen to the voiceless. You are alive, your care is tender, supportive, and silent.
And then the Exile. Your past clings to your shoulders like an old woolen cloak. Someday, perhaps, you can return to your home. You are alive. Your care is fragile, skittish, and terrified of being broken again.
That's good. This is a good pairing.
It's a good pairing. So we're just going to go through and we can make choices, and as we do, we can bounce them off of each other. And yeah, the very first thing that we choose from a list is choosing an animal.
I'm immediately going to go with a crow. Gotta go with crow.
I might go with skunk. I think I'm going to be a skunk. Love to be a skunk.
Love skunks. I am going to choose two qualities that I am and two qualities that I am not. I
Mm-hmm.
am friendly, and I am friendly and I am alert. I am not organized and I'm not organized and I am not gentle.
Mm-hmm. I choose.
I like a caretaker. I like a caretaker that's not gentle. That's interesting to me. Like that's an interesting thing to not be. So I want to lean into
Yeah,
that.
absolutely. I choose two I am and two I try not to be. Uh, I
Ooh.
am jumpy and uh, I'm jumpy and pessimistic, and I try not to be uh, damaged or ladylike.
Okay, I like that. I feel like that's some good. I like that.
Just like I'm really
So
I'm a skunk. I'm a I am a very nervous and like kind of a little depressed. I'm a little bit of the paranoid android of a skunk.
yeah, yeah.
But I'm not. I try very hard not to be damaged. Just sad.
Just making some notes here. So I'm going to choose two to three things to describe my look. Um, Immediately I float towards loose papers covered in sketches and notes.
Mm-hmm.
That ties very nicely into not being organized.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the other one or two that I want to go with are a box of squat candles, especially because it conjures to me the visual of like not nice candles, for
Mm.
lack of a better way to describe them, like not new or not maybe not even not nice candles, but not new candles.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
It's a box of like none of them match. They're all just different. They're all different colors and scents and styles, and none of them match, and they're all melted at different points.
Mm.
And I gotta go big glasses because a crow in glasses is extremely cute.
True. Oh,
Big old
so
glasses,
true.
big old glasses on a crow,
Oh,
very cute.
very very cute is the thing. I also choose two to three to describe my look. I think I'm gonna choose a cloak big enough to hide in. Um, I'm going to choose da-da-da, uh, improvised crutches, um, and a sacred text from my people.
So I'm going to choose up to 5 friends that hide in the many shrines I carry with me.
Oh, you get so many friends.
I get a lot of friends. It's really this is at this point wish fulfillment because I'm gonna have many friends. It's gonna be
True.
great.
Look, that's what we said about role playing games earlier. Is they're just a way of
It's
having
true.
friends.
So my 5 friends, or my 4 friends rather, are Guile, a breeze god who is observant and oracular. Wick, a candle god, obviously, who is agile and or luminescent. A Talk, a chalk god who is faithful and or venerable. And then there is the nameless ancient god that seeks refuge within my shrine, who is hurt,
Mm-hmm.
who is wounded and ancient and nameless. And you know what? I don't really ask that many more questions. They sought a place. They sought a place to rest.
Mm-hmm.
Who am I to say to cast a judgment? You know what I
True.
mean? That's not what I'm here for. That's not who I am.
Mm-hmm. So I once had a place I called home, and it's gone now. I choose one true reason why I cannot return, one reason I tell everyone else, and one reason I worry is the truth. Um, the true reason I cannot return, is because fled to escape familial obligations. My home is a palace. Um, I tell everyone else that my home was destroyed by outside hands. It is a graveyard. Um, and I worry that the real reason I cannot return is because the one thing I worry is the truth is that I cannot remember why I can't return, and thus my home is a mirror as well.
That's beautiful. I love that. That's really good.
So I think the vibe there is that I was like the young prince of a
Mm-hmm.
small, faraway valley kingdom, and I ran away because I just couldn't deal with it. I
Sure.
maybe, but I feel like it at this point it's been so long that I can't remember why I can't go back. I just know I can't. Um,
That's beautiful and sad.
mhm.
So I'm going to choose a ceremonial object that I carry with me and tell the table about it. Now, I started looking through this list and realized that when I realized it was a BOB game and I was going to need tokens, I grabbed the deck of cards that was next to me. So I feel pretty comfortable choosing the option a deck of oracular cards hand painted by a magical childhood friend who could hear the gods
Ooh,
whispering.
yes.
Um, this is so only about four, only like it's a full size deck of cards, right? I'd say about as many as a deck of
Hmm.
playing cards because that's what I
Yeah.
have in my hand. Only about 4 or 5 of them were painted by my friend who could hear the gods
Hmm.
whispering. But almost all of them are painted, and what it is like when I uh spend time with someone, when I tend to someone, when I care for someone, be they god, human, bug, or
Hmm.
whatever, I will ask them to paint a card.
Mm.
I will give them a blank card and I will ask them to paint it with whatever they want to paint it.
Mhm.
You ask a dung beetle to paint a card, it's just going to kind of rub some dung on the card and then you let it dry. Like there's not a lot that dung beetle is going to do to that
Yeah.
card. But like I ask for it for every person that I take care of to like do that, and then it's just my tiny little record of the life that I've lived and the good that I've done.
Yeah. And I love that so much. Um, so I choose three things. I choose two things I carry with me and one that I've lost. Um, the two things I carry with me is the crown of the monarch that once ruled my land. I
Mm-hmm.
stole it when I left. Um, and the song my people would sing to fill their hearts with light. It is the one thing I can confidently remember about my home. And the thing I've lost is the sound of my once lover's voice forever calling me home.
Oh, beautiful. All right, so we have come to asking. We've
Mm-hmm.
come to asking one to the left and one to the right. Since there are two of us, should we ask each other two questions or stick with just one question?
Ask each other two questions. We're
That's what I
becoming
was.
best friends.
That's kind of what I was thinking. That's what I was going to propose, but I didn't want to step on your toes as the
Mhm.
designer.
I've found that in BOB, the more questions that are asked, the like better it is. And every time I write ask one to the left and one to the right, I kind of just want to ask as many questions as possible because they're just always good to have. Can't ask too many
I feel
questions.
it's where good storytelling comes from.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, which of my small and forgotten gods did you rescue and give to me?
Oh, you have Wick, right?
I have Wick, Guile, Talk, and a nameless ancient god seeking refuge.
I found Wick. I think Wick was Wick was hiding out in the crown that I stole. Like was sort of curled up. Like the crown is like a crown with like these like almost like a chandelabra a crown, and
Mm-hmm.
there was like a little god hidden in one of the little pockets of it. Um,
Oh, that's beautiful.
um, um, do you miss our home as much as I do?
Um, it's good. It's real good. It's a good question. Um, yes and no. I miss it more than you. Uh, I miss it more than you put on,
Mm-hmm.
but I miss it more than you put on, more than you publicly show, but less than you show when you are alone in the quiet.
Yeah.
I think part of that is like, um, I think part of this is me thinking through the character as well. Is I think part of not being friendly or not being gentle is that I just speak. I say what's on my mind, and I don't like. I say what's on my mind, not in the like I'm just speaking the truth way, but like in a like it just comes out, right? Like, and I think it is like I say like, yeah, there's stuff that I miss, but like, why would I go back at the end of the day? Like, there's more that I can do outside of those walls, outside of that palace. Like, why would I? Why would I go back? Sure, I miss it, but
Yeah.
I've got work to do.
Yeah, no, I love that.
What do you know about the world that I don't?
What are you always again? The two
I
you
am always I am always I am always friendly and alert.
um I think I know there are people out there that can't be trusted. I
Mm,
think that while you would certainly say you know that, I think I am familiar with it in a way that most people aren't.
okay, I dig that.
Yeah, just because I think growing up in nobility meant that I had to unlearn power and the addiction of power.
Yeah.
Um, how did you?
And
Yeah, and I'll go for it.
and my role is caring for people, so that that brings with it a sense of like believe the best of intentions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And that is something that can be hurt and can be abused and broken.
yeah, absolutely. How did you help me when I felt like no one else would?
Oh,
Not
I
could,
helped.
would.
Oh, I helped you escape.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I I had said to you, I said like you're royalty, like you are a prince, like no one's going like or I yeah I like okay. I want to say and also clarify.
Mm-hmm.
I think I said to you, I said the words I said to you, and I like that, but I want to clarify that it was, I think, an honesty thing and not a manipulation thing, because I think it kind of threads a line of saying, like, no one's going to let you walk out of here.
Yeah.
Like, if you're going to leave, like, it has to be on your like, it's going to have to be on your terms, but your terms are going to have to be harsh.
I think that was what was like hard. I think you just knew. Like, I didn't know really what life was like outside of my home, and you did,
Mhm.
right? Like, and so like you knew the world. You had many friends. You had sort of this world outside of me. Um,
Yeah.
and so you kind of were able to, be like, you helped me escape. I wouldn't have had the courage to, the capacity to.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I want to ask one more question,
Yeah.
because more questions are good. Questions are good.
Questions are good.
Do I listen to you when you feel small and forgotten?
Yeah. And I think that I I think that that is often how I feel, and when I feel that way, I am very small and very forgotten and kind of very, it's hard for me to hold on to being myself. And I think you hear me and you listen.
I like that.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think that's good. I don't think I've got any other questions for you.
Okay.
So you'll note that you've got some things you can always do.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the equivalent of regular moves in BOB for those of you who are familiar. Those are sort of like whenever you don't know what else to do, those are always things you can fall back on.
Cool.
And they are very useful. The reason, just to pull back the curtain a little bit, the reason why I don't call things moves in this game is because moves imply that they advance the fiction forward, whereas that's not the function of these things.
Got it.
So they are just things you do, and they can push the fiction forward, or they can just be things you do. Yeah. So we've got our characters. We've got our two characters, and now what we get to do is we get to sit down and make the place that we are arriving to. So every time we would go to a new place, if this was a long-term campaign, every time we arrived at a new place, would make that place from scratch once more. And the way that's going to start off is we are going to go to. Oh, shoot, wait. First, we name our characters.
Oh, yeah, right.
I think I just call. I think my character's name is just Alex. It used to be like Prince Alexander, and now it's just Alex. Actually, no, it's Lex. They used to be Prince Alexander, but now they're just Lex, and they use they them pronouns.
I am Sender Desdemona.
Ooh.
Pronouns she. Pronouns she, her.
Ooh, that's a really good name.
Thank you. I love naming things. I love names.
God, that's very good. Yeah, perfect. All right, we got our characters, and now let's make the place.
Mhm.
So we're gonna go to our first place, which is in the outline page something. My computer's so slow. Oh, page 9.
Page
And
9.
basically, so in a traditional BOB game, there is a set of setting elements, right? There's generally like 6 setting elements that are the GM role fragmented in 6 pieces and handed out. In Wanderhome, because each new place introduces new elements, new aspects of the world, we build the setting elements each time. So we are going to pick out or randomly choose 3 natures that are going to be the baseline for the place we are arriving to.
Okay.
Do you want to roll 2d6, or do we want to pick some words?
I sure. I'm gonna roll 2d6, just because I can never resist rolling dice on a randomly generated thing. Like that's my everything.
BOB with random tables is
some next level, frankly. I feel like
some next level.
All right, so I'm rolling 2d6. That is a 6, and that is a double 6. That is some hot
double 6
hot dice.
All right. Our first, the first nature we'll be using is the tower.
The tower.
So let's get all 3 natures and then figure out what their deals are.
All right, I'll write that down. The tower. I've got a 2 and 6.
All right, that's a swamp, if you would.
Swamp.
Mm-hmm.
And a 5 and a 2.
All right, and that's Foothills.
All right.
So
this is Shrek.
It's a little Shrekky, isn't it?
It's a little Shrek.
Also, it's important to note that one or more of these natures can be metaphorical. So if the place we want to make isn't literally a tower, but is instead metaphorically a tower, or metaphorically foothills, or metaphorically a swamp, we have the capacity to do that.
I like that. Do you have any thoughts that immediately come to mind?
So, I'm kind of trying to reconcile tower and swamp in my head.
I do want it. I think I like my immediate instinct is I really literally want it to be a swamp, because that's just, I love it. Like the aesthetic of a swamp is very good. It just makes me happy.
I agree. I'm with you. I think, what if, oh, okay, so here's a concept. What if this is a little bit of like an impossible geography sort of thing, and it's like a mesa or like some other like very tall like protrusion from the ground with a flat surface, and the flat surface is like a basin that's just filled up with water and has had nowhere to drain. And so it's like like it looks like almost this like squat pillar that is covered in like a bog on top of it.
I like that. I think that's very cool.
And then it's foothills as well, and foothills are in the shadow of a mountain, right?
So what if this mesa, this plateau that juts out as a swamp, is the first of an ever like expanding series of like identical structures
Oh,
where
that's so
it's
interesting. It's like what do you call? I don't remember what the geographic thing is, but in the movie Up,
yeah, yep,
yes, yeah,
and
yeah.
and each one, I want to throw out the detail even if we don't get to it, that each like subsequent mountain,
Mm-hmm.
the space on top of it, the mesa, the plateau on top of it, is like a vastly different and utterly incompatible like geometric, or not geometric, like geographic landscape.
Oh,
One
fascinating.
of them you climb to the top and it is and just going full magical outlandish, like one of them is like fluid oceans where it's like oceans of like mercury or iron, and
Oh, wow.
one of them is pure crystalline ice, and like one of them is like just volcanic lava that is splashing
Mm-hmm.
around but not digging into the earth, just like splashing around
Mm-hmm.
it.
Maybe so. Basically, maybe what if the majority of these are like pretty much inhospitable,
Yep.
and so if you want to travel, you need to like travel in between them effectively. And this is kind of like one of the few inhabitable ones that's on the outskirts of this weird geologic formation, and that's where people will like stop and rest up and like stock up on supplies before continuing on.
I love that also because it is in a swamp,
Mm-hmm.
which also feels, I guess I like the emotional things that I associate with swamps are like, on the one hand, like you have the aesthetic associations of like being lonely and dangerous and dark, but also they're like teeming with life. So it's
Mm-hmm.
this idea
Mm-hmm.
of like people hiding amongst roots and trees and branches, but like there are people in any direction that you look, like anywhere that you want to find a person, like it is this thriving kind of like market scene that is just out of view because everyone is like hiding in a tree stump, and then you walk by the tree stump and you say the right words and somebody pops out and sells you a bowl.
Oh, that's so good. I love that. Yes, 100%.
Cool.
So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to each of those three natures, and we're gonna make some choices real quick.
Okay.
So starting with, let's start with the swamp because it feels the most literal. So the swamp has a few things it can always do, and as we play, we can kind of tap in on those at any time when we want to be reactive, um, and have the world react. I'm not going to read all of them always, but I'll just say, like, for example, the swamps is describe the heaviness of the world, show tension caused by stagnation, and bog someone down and give them a token. Um,
Hmm.
and we're going to choose two aesthetic elements and one associated folklore.
So why don't we each choose one aesthetic element?
That sounds perfect.
Because I'm immediately gravitating towards capricious spirits offering to help.
Oh, absolutely. And I think I'm going to choose muck and mire.
Hmm. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
And some folklore about this place.
I am immediately drawn to the Shrewish Witch and
Yeah,
her
I
magic
was.
cabin.
Yep, that was. There was. I don't feel like there was any debate in my mind. I feel like that's just the right option.
That's the folklore. Yeah, absolutely. Great. And so let's jump next to, let's go to the Foothills next, which is a little bit above it on page 62.
Okay, I'm at the foothills. This place can always describe what we stand in the shadows of. Show a threat that's up ahead and ask what are you worried lies up ahead, and then give them a token if they're right.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely want to throw in the scattered fragments of civilization, tying
Mm-hmm.
in that idea of like there's people all kind of over the place in little pockets. Like
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't feel like a city. It feels like you are just constantly running into someone who doesn't realize that there's someone else 3 trees over.
Oh, outstanding. I love that. I'm gonna toss in a a foreigner from higher up. Um, I think that occasionally, very rarely, but it happens. Uh, Even though supposedly no one can really live on those higher up mesas, there's always like every once in a while travelers who come down from there, and they wear like uh full body like protective gear and armor, and have like these like long snouted helmets for the hostile environment, and they come through bringing like things to trade in exchange for food.
I love it. I, I, I'm real. Okay. The
Mm-hmm.
two pieces of folklore that I'm really drawn to, the
Mm-hmm.
Fallen Star and the story she told is very good. But I got a lot of questions about the goat that slept for 100 years is the thing.
What are your questions?
Just what happened?
What
Why'd that goat
happened?
sleep so long? Like,
Why'd that goat
I,
sleep so long?
I, so let me ask you, and because
Mm-hmm.
there's two, I have a reason for both, and you know, you might float towards one reason or you might indulge the other reason.
Mm-hmm.
Do we want the Fallen Star and the story she told to add a magical, mysterious, like, story element? Or do we want to just say that there's just a weird goat? Because both of those options I like a lot.
Those are both really good. It is also worth noting that like these don't necessarily have to be like true things we encounter. They can also just be stories about the place. And just to pull back the curtain slightly, the goat who slept for 100 years is based on Rip Van Winkle, which is a local folklore here. That I imagine you're familiar with, but
Yes. But also it's a goat, and that makes it way better.
It really does. I'm kind of interested in the Fallen Star, just because.
I think I am too.
Yeah.
I think I want to throw in that the goat is there, but like I would like it to be a canon thing that the goat is there, and like, but it is just really like you go up to it and it's just a goat. So it's not like a story beat. It's just you see the goat and they're like, this goat slept for 100 years, and you're like, okay.
It is also maybe worth noting that animal people, that this goat's probably also a person.
Oh yeah, right. I forgot that we're playing animal people. Then yes, I'm going the Fallen Star because I was picturing going up to like just straight up a barn and looking at a goat. I would like to go with the Falling Star in that case.
Sidebar, I think I need to edit the phrasing of the goat who slept for 100 years slightly, because this is the second time I've played where that exact confusion happened and people forgot how the game worked.
Understandable.
Yeah, that sounds really good. So
I like the Fallen Star and the story she told.
I like the Fallen Star and the story she told. Maybe she's a goat.
Could be. Yes, she is a goat.
She's a goat star.
And she slept for 100 years on her journey through the stars.
Done.
I
love that.
Nailed it. Crushed it.
So last but not least, there is the tower.
All right. The tower can describe something small and far away. It can spread concern around structural stability, and it can make someone dizzy and disoriented and give them a token.
I'm going to say a narrow, barely stable entrance.
Hey, I dig that.
Like, it's the way in order to get up to the plateau is this, like, very, very thin, like, it's a very thin path that, like, you cannot take a beetle on, you know? Like, it's just, like, it barely fits a person.
And I'm going to say a shining light warning of danger. If it's in the shadow of these other larger mountains, like that flashing of light could be like a lava flow that is tumbling straight for the plateau that could turn into a forest fire.
Ooh, yeah.
Like there is a light in the sky that like trickles in that like warns you of things that are to come.
Oh, that's really cool. That's really, really cool. And so what's the folklore of this place?
Oh, I love the ghost that walks the stairs.
Maybe it's a staircase all the way to the top.
I like that. I really like that.
Yeah. Oh, wait, there's an aesthetic element that's winding staircase all the way to the top, so I guess I choose that one instead.
Hey, maybe we choose 3 aesthetic elements.
We're stronger than the game.
Yeah, we win. We've bested you, game.
Yeah, you're just words.
So yeah, I like that, and I like the ghost that walks the stairs. I like there's a benevolence to that, or at least a non-malevolence to that I really kind of go to, of like, it's not doing anything. It just walks the stairs. And I think whether or not we encounter it, like, I think the story is people press on it, like, what does the ghost do? Walks the stairs.
Yeah, he walks the stairs. Can you blame him?
Yeah. He's got places to go.
I think that the stairs have truly been Lex's nightmare because they have those improvised crutches. And
Mm,
I think I do not think it was easy to get up to this mesa.
I feel that. I like that.
All right, so the last thing that we're going to do is we're just going to, because this is a one shot, there's a couple things we don't do that we might do normally, where like if we're playing for a longer period of time, we'd figure out like what month it is, and as the months roll by, our characters would advance, and eventually they have to move on, and it's a whole thing. But because it's one shot, we're just gonna, we are entering straight into the game. Also, you will notice that as you chose your gods, they had those little descriptors in italics.
Yes.
Those are in the same way that we are building setting elements. Other characters, individuals, are like little mini setting elements, and they have access to traits which give them things they can do. If I'm going to sidebar here, the traits, I am literally about to meet with an editor tomorrow and just work the traits hardcore, so I'm not confident in showing them off. But I wanted to just acknowledge the fact that they exist, and
Got it.
we can just kind of free role play characters, and then they don't
Cool.
have to come up. Yeah, just wanted to explain that. But yeah, so that's sort of in that way, both places and people kind of get represented on like little index cards or something. When you're playing, you just kind of end up with a bunch of little cards all over the place, as is, I guess, the J Dragon style. And so the very last thing we're going to do is we're going to answer just a couple of questions as we set forth. So,
Hell yes.
Jeff, what sort of place did we just travel from?
We just traveled from an old series of underground service tunnels. I've been on a big service tunnel kick lately. I think because I've been thinking about the Disney parks, and they all have those giant networks of service tunnels. But like, there's a network of specifically service tunnels. They're not mining tunnels. They're not tombs or anything like that. But they are. No one knows who dug them or who put them there. No one knows like how they've been there, and they are ancient and old, and we passed through them because they are the easiest way to get underneath and across a mountain.
Yeah.
So we passed through them, and as you pass through them, they got to be haunted. I love a good haunted tunnel, but I like that it is not a maliciously haunted tunnel. It's just the experience of like, I think we just spent some time like seeing and meeting and chatting with ghosts. I probably made us stay there longer than we should have because like I had a lot of questions.
Yeah, which of your gods did you find in the tunnels?
Oh, definitely Guile. Definitely a breeze god.
Oh yeah, yeah. Do we feel our journey has been long?
Yes. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Is there somewhere we hope to go?
What do you think?
I think I feel very strongly I'm trying to get somewhere, but I'm not sure where that is.
I think my honest answer is I think you have somewhere that you're trying to go. Because like I haven't gotten your card yet.
Yeah.
So like we're traveling until you have found where you're going, and then I'm going to have you paint a card and I'm going to be on my way.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. All right, and then the last question is something neither of us answer out loud. We just take a moment to reflect on it, which is, will our character someday find a home? All right. So,
all right.
Welcome to Wanderhome. Are we have we arrived to the swamp yet, or are we? Oh, what is the name of this swamp? We keep forgetting to name things.
We do, and it's funny because I love naming things.
what's the name of this place? Like, I want to suggest like I'm thinking about like it's almost like it's at the end of it's at like the start of something very strange, right? Or it's
Yeah.
sort of the end of what people usually think of as maybe like no one maybe like people certainly go to the other side of this, but it's like very unclear like what else is out there.
I was actually going to throw out Stepping Stone Swamp because it is the place that you travel amongst and in between these other things where you very much cannot travel.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think that's really good. Um, so are we in? Have we arrived at Stepping Stone Swamp yet, or are we approaching it?
I think we are approaching it, just about to like enter it. I think we're in the last few steps.
Yeah. Um, I'm not sure how Lex. Actually, can we start at the bottom of the steps? Because I kind of want to figure
Sure.
out how Lex is getting up those steps.
Sure.
Um,
I
which
have an idea
yeah.
that I'd kind of like to play with,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
which is yeah, I have an idea.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, I think we're sitting at the base of these steps. Oh, yep. No, I feel I'm increasingly. I'm sorry. I'm thinking through the idea in my head, and I'm like, oh, this is I think a fun one, fun
Mm-hmm.
friendship moment.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're sitting at the base of it, and we've kind of just had the moment of like, there's a giant stairs, and I'm quietly like, can you hear that?
Lex pauses for a moment, and then uh, they take a break from doing one of the things they can always do, which is say an expression in their traditional language, which in this case is a string of expletives, to pause and listen and be like, hear what?
Hold on. And I reach into my box and I pull out one of the candles.
Mm-hmm.
I pull out one of the candles and I light it, and it smells of uh silk and sort of a soft vanilla and a little bit of like a crisp perfume, like a sandalwood. And it swirls for a moment, and the breeze starts to blow, and I'm like, Guile. Can you grab them real quick? I'd love to have a word. And the breeze blows, and we see a figure start to walk down the steps, and the ghost simply stops and watches us. And Lex, may I ask? I don't want to impose, and I don't want to make a decision for you. So I would like to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Um,
Lex is clearly nervous about the ghost.
I don't want to take away your agency. I want to put the decision in your hands. The stairs. Would you be? And if the answer is no, the answer is no. We'll find another way. But would you be comfortable being carried?
Um, are you? Do you plan on spending a token to provide a solution for this problem, or
I don't have.
you don't have a token?
It's a good question. It's a great question.
Great question. I think what I'm going to do in that case is, I'm going to speak my true feelings on the subject and get a token.
Okay.
Just so I'm going to use these large sheets of loose leaf paper next to me. Wait, no, I have these rocks. Never mind. We're good. And I'm going to say, Sender, I'm tired of being doted on. Let me handle this. I might not like it, but I'm not going to be carried by a ghost. And Lex is going to push past the ghost, which is maybe a little inaccurate because the ghost is intangible, but they kind of shoulder their way past the ghost, and
I think in that moment the ghost becomes corporeal just to give you the sense that you have shoved him.
that
like
makes sense.
the ghost, like you shove him, and like when he hits the rock wall, he disappears into smoke.
Mm-hmm.
and like he disappears in the smoke and then reforms and like looks at me and looks at the breeze and kind of just shrugs and turns around and starts walking back up the stairs. And I sit for a moment and I just go, no, that's, you know what, that's fair. That's fair. That was overreach. I recognize that. That's fine.
Lex's best tactic for handling this appears to be that they have sat down on the stairs and are using their crutches as a way to just lift themselves up and try to kind of move along that way. But they are.
And I am just I think I am standing maybe 3 steps below and like just sort of like letting you handle this how you want to handle it at this point. Like I think I've taken some steps back and I'm like, you know what, I overreached. That was fair. I feel that I need to take a step back here.
Yeah. I think as I go up, as Lex goes up the stairs, it's a long journey and it's not easy, and they kind of transition between a few different ways of navigating it. But and it's certainly much slower than you could have done alone. But you know, Lex is not acknowledging this fact to you, although it's clear that it's bothering them. The sun is just starting to set, and it can be seen from the stairs that it's kind of cutting through these plateaus, and the different elements on top of the much taller plateaus are creating these like different dazzling like light being caught in the sun in different ways. I'm going to take a moment to bask in the grandeur of the world and describe it to you. It is beautiful and also alien in the sense that the light doesn't move like light does. It moves slowly, and it kind of arcs in the air in this very impossible way. And so the light kind of is like cascading down the mountains until it lands down on the ground and becomes these like prismatic rainbows on the ground.
I would as you are climbing the stairs, since I'm like keeping a polite distance, I would like to I'm feeling a little embarrassed. I'm feeling a little bit like I hurt a friend, and I'm feeling a little bit, you know, I acted without thinking. I was not gentle. And so I think I'm trying my best to give you the space that you need, and instead I have become fixated on the only other thing that is here, which is this ghost walking the stairs. And I think that I would love to marvel at something that no one has ever seen before. As I have this candle burning and Guile is here blowing and the ghost is walking. I think that no one has ever seen where this ghost goes.
Yeah.
Like when he's not walking.
Yeah.
But you know, this god that has clearly spent tremendous amounts of time among ghosts, this crow that clearly like enjoys people and stories and helping people. Like I think all of this culminates with like following the ghost about 3/4 of the way up the stairs. The ghost like turns down a small tunnel that's like barely a crack in the wall, and like, you know, Guile and I have to kind of shimmy for a moment, and I look up and you're making your way up the stairs, and I'm like, okay, so okay, and I squish and I squeeze and I sneak in my way through, and I'm like, and there's just a tiny little like hutch, a tiny little table. It was clearly like a campsite some years ago. It doesn't necessarily look like a survival campsite. Like it doesn't look like this ghost died here trying to survive or make it up. It looks like it looks more like this ghost in life found a space that no one could reach and said, this is where I live. Like this is where I spend my days. And I stand there for a moment looking at this little like kind of makeshift rock table, and there's a little like it is hay. It is hay and thread at this point, but there's like the remnants of a bed.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And I'm like, huh. Thank you for inviting me. This is lovely. Thank you. I'm very happy to see this. And I blow out the candle, and the breeze kind of dissipates, and the ghost sort of disappears to go walk back up the stairs. And I'm going to take one of my little tiny candles and place it on the table, and be like, I hope this makes dinner. I hope this makes whatever meal or time you sit here a little brighter. I'm like, I suspect they have roughly made it up the stairs at this point, and I leave without saying a word.
Are you leaving an offering to a smaller forgotten god?
I think I am. I feel good about that, and I think I go back and I meet you right at the top, right as we pass the threshold into Stepping Stone Swamp.
What is right at the top? What do you see of me? I'm definitely now just lying like on the ground, kind of, I think, a little bit in the mud, just like catching my breath, kind of wrapped up in my cloak a little bit.
I think there is kind of a not quite porthole, not quite gate, like a circular bundle of vines at the very top that have like come together to create a little like portal way.
Yeah.
That you kind of have to like grab the arch and like swing yourself into a little bit. And so I think that you've done this, you've swung through to the other side, and you are resting on your back slightly in the mud in your cloak.
Yeah,
and
I love that.
I pick up, I think one of your crutches is like along a wall, and I pick it up and I like lay it next to you. I lay it next to you. I don't say anything about it. I just kind of put it next to you, and I'm like, here you go.
I say something in my traditional language. I kind of mutter a phrase that indicates it's kind of the equivalent of like no problem, but like in a thank you sort of way, where it's like the implication is like, thanks, but you didn't have to, and I didn't ask you to, but you did it, and thanks, I guess.
Sure.
That very like casual, almost slang thanks.
Yeah. The kind you wouldn't use among like proper company. You would use it among a friend that you're like,
yeah, exactly.
Close with.
Like it's a little dismissive and a little grumpy of me, but it's also clearly friendly.
Yeah.
And I think I'm going to real quickly make a I'm going to make a tower move, which is to describe something very small and far away, which is intended to be used for being on top of a tower, but I'm going to use it for just a thing small and far away, which is as we take a moment to rest, you spot a weird like you spot a very small salamander, not like very small, but like a kid size, like a 3 foot tall salamander.
Yeah.
1 meter for those. You spot a 3 foot tall salamander, and they are very small and very far away, and that you see them for but a moment, and they giggle mischievously and then duck back down underneath, like inside of a tree.
And I cock my head, and I look, and I'm like, did you see that?
I'm gonna push something out of sight or out of mind, and just be like, see what?
I thought I saw some. Well, yeah, I guess we've been welcomed. I guess we've been greeted by the welcoming committee, so to speak.
Is the welcoming committee a ghost and some rocks? A vine?
Well, I suppose. Well, okay, yes. I guess technically, I suppose the welcome committee would be actually the ghost, because it was the first thing. So I guess this is the welcoming committee to the swamp as opposed to the welcome committee of the stairs. And hold on, I gotta make some notes. Hold on, I gotta, and I take out my book and I kind of like plop down and start like sketching out notes on like who is technically the welcoming committee of which who is the welcoming committee of which aspect of the journey. And I'm like, well, if they were here, I mean, technically, Guile, really?
I'm going to say an expression in my traditional language, which is a somewhat affectionate expletive. Maybe the best translation is "you motherfucker," or like "idiot." And I'm going to just get up and hobble deeper into the swamp, or not hobble. I'm gonna just get up and walk deeper into the swamp.
And I think it takes you saying that expletive for me to like slap the book closed 2 or 3 pages, go like flying, and I'm like, yep, you're right. I'm sorry. There's time for notes taking later. We have places to be.
So what's the swamp like?
The swamp is wet. It is wet and humid. It is that wet and humid. Everything is got the rough color and texture of like boiled spinach. Everything is sort of dripping in a nondescript way. But it's also bright. You know, it is not shrouded in shadow. Everything is, you can kind of see everything. And I don't know if that makes it better or worse, but it's bright.
Des, I thought you said this is a place that we'd be able to stay just for the night.
Well,
I'm not sleeping in the mud again.
No, that's fair. That's fair. Hold on. One moment, I believe. And now I'm going to spend that token to present a solution, to provide an aspect of an immediate problem. Which is, I'm going to go chase after. I'm going to go peek my head into a stump, into a bush, and pop a salamander out. And I think I'm like, hold on. Actually, if I remember correctly, if I remember my lore, if I remember my studies, which I don't want you to say that term again. It feels loving, but it feels rude. And we'll talk about. Hold on. And I kind of like trot over to a bush, and I kind of like jab at it with one of my little like wing feathers. And I'm like, excuse me, and like a salamander kind of rolls out, does the kind of Willy Wonka roll.
There's a great little comic online that's kind of got like the setup of like that part of it where there's like the clown in the sewer, but it's like a happy frog in the sewer, and in the last panel it cuts to show that there's like a bunch of happy frogs, and they're all just like, yeah, come on in, like we're playing sardines. And I kind of feel like it's got a little bit of that energy, right? Like,
yeah,
you pull out the salamander and like 3 more salamanders come tumbling out, and it's clear they're all like, little kids, and they're just like, hey, what's the big idea?
I am so sorry. What is your name? My name is Sender. What is your name, little salamander?
Little? Well,
that's comparatively little, I should say.
You can call me the Destroyer.
Destroyer? You've got it. Big, powerful name. You're right. I have underestimated you, Destroyer.
That's right. I'm nearly 3.5 feet tall.
That's. I mean, that is. Why, that's nearly 4 feet tall, really. That's astounding.
The salamander narrows her eyes, and you can tell for a brief moment she is recalibrating her opinion of you.
I'm like, that is nearly nearly 3.5 feet is nearly 4 feet. That is something to be reckoned with. I don't know I don't know where I got the nerve to say little, frankly. Please spare me and my friend, and hopefully shuffle us to a place where we can sleep far out of the reach of your enormous wrath.
I like the spunkier moxie. You need a place to stay?
We would love a place to stay. And as a side note, the spunk of my moxie is, I'm told, my finest quality.
Uh, Lex rolls their eyes, and the destroyer goes, "Well, let me go ask my mom and see if we've got some spare beds."
Wonderful, thank you. And I turn back to you, and the only way that I can describe what I do is the Groucho Marx, where I grab the corner of my glasses and I kind of wiggle them a little bit.
Lex sighs and pulls themselves up to their feet, and is just like, I don't even know why I travel with you.
Well, I this is me. Oh, spending my other token to speak my true feelings on the subject. That's what's happening here.
Actually, speak your true feelings is a thing you do in order to get a token. So.
Oh, well then I'm taking a token.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Lex, the truth is, I really see it more as I travel with you. I don't really feel like, I feel like I don't feel like you've ever really had a reason outside of the kindness of your own heart. And frankly, I feel like I'm really more following your lead than you are following mine.
Ooh, Lex wasn't expecting that. They, they freeze the fuck up, and then, push something out of sight or out of mind. And they blink and say, if you're going to be following my lead, it's going to take you a lot longer to get places, and starts going off in the direction of the salamander.
Fair.
Lex is
And I
repressing.
That's fair. I follow suit for a moment. I stand there and I look, and I do one of my anytime moves, which is I pause, tilt my head to the side, and keep going. And I trot back off in your direction. And I think we meet Mama Salamander.
Yeah, what's Mama Salamander's name?
Mama Salamander's name is Coriander Flametail.
Ooh, really good.
I think I'd like to throw in the magical detail, because I love salamanders in traditional fantasy role playing games, the kind that involve Dungeons and Dragons but are not Wizards of the Coast presents Dungeons and Dragons, because frankly, fuck it.
Yeah.
But I enjoy a good fire-tailed, fire-wreathed salamander.
Oh yeah.
The aesthetic of it is very cool, so I want to propose, a little bit of like a fire aura, a little bit of fire swirling around Coriander.
I have two thoughts. My first thought is, I like the thought that salamanders, when they're older, they choose like the young salamander chose a pretty subdued name in comparison to her mother, because the destroyer has nothing on Coriander. What was the last part?
Flametail
has nothing on Coriander Flametail. And then my second thought is also, what if she's got that like fire tail, but it's not like an offensive thing. She's using it to like tend to the little like hearth that's like I think maybe the Flametail family lives in they're all the like bright orange salamanders. And they live in like there's like a tree that has like a root network that like kind of spreads out, and there's like kind of a small house structure in there with a little like stone chimney that's like built, like the tree kind of grew up around, and like, or even like it was built underneath the roots, and there's like a little hearth hollowed out from like where like some roots bend around, and there's like a little fire there, and there's like a pot of stew, and there's
I love that.
a bunch of little tadpoles.
And what that immediately tells me is that like that Flametail, the fire tail, is literally like burning brush away, like clearing it out, like the dead branches and like kindling and things of like, I think we see her like do one beautiful like elegant swoop, and like some like or some tiny branches, some tiny dead branches like brush away, and she like kind of brushes them up, like cleans up the space a little bit, just as we come in to like greet us and make a little space for us.
Mm-hmm. I think Lex, you see something in Lex's eyes that I don't think you've seen in a long time, which is, I think they suddenly and abruptly feel a little at home in a way they didn't before. They have not found their home, but they found a little piece of something. I think they kind of perk up.
And I think so I kind of want to put a cliffhanger. I'm going to spend a token and I think put a bit of a cliffhanger in place.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't fully know what happened next, and I kind of want to leave it on the lingering question of what happens when I play this, when I spend this token and do this thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think you feel that flicker, and I think I go off and immediately I explain a bit of our situation. Coriander's
Mm-hmm.
like, of course, that's what we do. That's why we live in this spot, is because we have
Mm-hmm.
beds for people that have come. And she kind of like tells us a little bit about some of the other things going on around the swamp. She tells us a little bit about like the star, and she's like, well, the star's actually kind of needed some support lately.
Mm-hmm.
And meanwhile, I'm just playing cards with the kids. Like at this point,
Yeah.
like I am playing cards, and
Mm-hmm.
periodically the destroyer throws up her hands and gets big, and I cower in a very dramatic way. And I
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
think the token that I want to spend, and the note, the closing note, if I may propose a closing note.
Real quick, right before you do that, I just want to say that while you're playing cards, I think I think Lex is sitting like right, like sort of like right at the entranceway, with like a smaller guitar and like singing that old song.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, go for it.
I love it. That's exactly what I was hoping. And like that, like you're singing, and like it's very serene. Coriander is sitting next to you, kind of
Mm-hmm.
introducing you to various people around the swamp. And like you
Mm-hmm.
just wrap up a song,
Mm-hmm.
and like you reach for what instrument do you play?
I play a lute. I play a lute.
Do you play a lute with a? You don't play a lute with a pick. You could say you do, because it ties into a moment.
Yeah, yeah.
You reach for a pick, and you find a single blank playing card. I spent my token to give someone something that has the potential to change them fundamentally.
That's such a good cliffhanger.
I
I,
thought it might be.
yeah, I think that's a good place to stop. I don't think I want to know what happens next.
I don't think I want to know. Because I like, there are definitely questions that I'm perfect. I want to talk through the questions of like,
Yeah.
does Lex, the questions that I have leading off are like, does Lex accept the card or angrily give it back? Does the giving of that card impact the fanning of that feeling of home? Like, what does that mean when that happens?
I think Lex rejects the card. I don't think they're ready to leave you yet.
I and then that's like, I feel like there's a lot. That's this is why I feel like it's a good cliffhanger, because like I feel like there's a lot of stuff to explore there.
Mm-hmm.
It
Mm-hmm.
feels like that good moment of like, you find the card and like what that means and what comes after. I feel like there's so many good questions.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Ah, wonderful. And then I think we'll leave that there, because I feel like that felt like the perfect moment when you started to describe how homey everything felt. I was like, uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Now, can I wrap and break the rules of the game? And if you want to tell me no to this question.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Can I ask you if the answer to your question about did you think Lex would find a home?
Yeah, you can ask me that. Um I think Lex doesn't think they'll ever find a home. I think they will, but I think it will take them. I think they need to first be comfortable not having a home.
I,
before they
I,
can
I,
find a home.
I see that. I thought about it for a second and like smiled very wide and came to the answer of no for Sender.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like I thought about it and I was like, do I think that she will ever find like a proper home? And I
Mm-hmm.
really realized that the answer was no.
Yeah.
But I think, but like that felt like the most satisfying answer. It didn't feel like oh, I don't think she'll ever get there. I think that like she will never find herself in a place where she cannot move on to the next thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that.
Wonderful. What a God. I here's the thing. Like I feel like that's a good stopping point, but I also feel like I want to keep going for like hours and hours.
Yeah, the thing about this game is that there's not a lot of BOB games that are designed. Like, I really wrote this game, like, partially because I was just sitting there and being like, how come Dungeons and Dragons gets to have the monopoly on campaigns that last for 30 years?
Right. I love that.
Why can't
It's
I play a game forever?
and it's funny because specifically I was also thinking the same thing. I was thinking the same thing in terms of like indie games in general. I've noticed. I was thinking about this because we were talking about this off mic that I am also designing like a long form campaign game, and I was thinking about it, I was like, it's odd to like it is not so much odd. It is interesting to me that so much of like kind of the somewhere the indie lyric whatever all of the
Mm-hmm.
different kind of like communities that you and I like take part in as designers, like they all
Mm-hmm.
are so geared towards like single experiences,
Yeah.
and I think that's very interesting of like
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested in any time you see a game in that space that is like this is not just a okay cool your story's ended and then maybe another thing happens. If that's like no, this is supposed to be
Mm-hmm.
repeated again and again and again, like this is designed in a specific way, like that
Yeah.
always extremely interests me.
Mm-hmm. And one big thing I was thinking about is that I think a lot of indie games are absolutely. I think you're right. It's like they're about capturing that narrative structure, right? Like I think Fiasco is maybe the best example of that. Like you cannot do really a long term Fiasco game because it tells you the beats of it. It tells you the
Yeah,
rhythm of it. And
it
so
is a
yeah.
story with an ending. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And like it's very much about building a story with a narrative arc. And Wanderhome isn't interested in a narrative arc. It's not interested in things wrapping up cleanly. It's interested in like the way in which the world changes over time, and part of that is that it's very descriptive. I was when I was writing it, I was thinking a lot about OSR work. And I will not say that Wanderhome is OSR. That seems wrong. But I will say that I think it is a lot more similar to uh, a lot of, sort of the concepts being tossed around in the OSR than a lot of other story-esque games are.
I think that makes sense. I see exactly what you mean by every part of that sentence. So
Yeah,
I think
it's
I
weird
see
because
exactly what you're going for.
I have no idea how to explain it, but it just makes sense in my head.
Yeah, I totally get you. Well,
Mhm.
thank you so much for coming on the show. This was so fun.
This was absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much for having me again, and this was a huge delight.
Let's do it again sometime.
Let's do it again sometime. Yeah.
So real quick before we wrap up, where can people find you, your work, and Wanderhome online?
So you are able to check out Wanderhome at tinyurl.com/wanderhomerpg. Um, I think, but please cut that line if I change the tiny URL. 'Cause it's not set in stone.
I will.
Yeah. Uh, you can also find me on Twitter at letter J DRAGSKY, J Dragsy. You can find me on Itch under the same. You can find me on Instagram at Possum Creek Games. Possum Creek Games. And those links are all in the description down below. Along
That
with
they are.
yeah. So check that out. Check me out. I write a whole bunch of games that are both like this and also very much not like this. And I think, yeah.
Well, I love this game. Thank you so much for playing it with me. I had such a great time, and for now, I'm going to throw it over to me in the future so that he can wrap up with the show. Take it, future me.